Hello and welcome to a new video about the Roman Empire. Today I want to talk about Nero, the Roman emperor that many people say was the worst emperor that has ever lived for Rome. Well, I want to show you today a couple of things why you can't say this to 100%, but still, if you at the end of this video still say Nero was the worst Roman emperor, I say it's fine, because I understand the argument, I understand the point, and it is not completely wrong. Let's start off the start of Nero's regime. When we look there, we can actually see that he was quite liked by the people. The people actually liked Nero a lot. This is because he was very nice to the people, gave them money, and also built quite some buildings, even though they were quite extravagant, and people saw that already back then. But still, he has done something good for the Roman people. And at that point, no one would say, oh, this was the worst Roman emperor that we ever had. No, obviously, no one would ever argue that he's the best emperor Rome ever had. Well, maybe at some point, at some year, someone will say that and give completely crazy reasons for it. But for now, no one would say that. Obviously, Augustus is the number one. At least most people would say so. Also, Romans would probably say Augustus was the best emperor they ever had. Now, when we look at the mid-years of Nero, we see that he got quite worse. He killed his enemies, etc., did some really crazy feasts, had some crazy plans with building a bridge about the Bay of Neapolis and this with boats. So he was quite, let's say, crazy, but actually he was maybe just mentally ill. And this is actually what some historians think as well, that he was mental ill, and this is why he did all of these crazy things. That's why he killed so many of his enemies, but also of his friends, actually, that he just thought are his enemies without them being dangerous to him whatsoever. However, if we look at the killing of political enemies, we have to say, well, most Roman emperors did that. There were many that actually were like, yeah, he's my political enemy, he has to die. So that's not that bad if we look at it. Obviously, if we look from today's perspective at it, it is bad. But if we look from a period perspective, it is quite common that some people just die when a new emperor rises to power. However, the number is decisive here, and under Nero's rule, it was actually quite a big number. And let's come to the biggest point why people say, hey, Nero, the worst emperor ever, the Great Fire of Rome. Yeah, I would say if it is actually true that it was his order to lay this fire and burn down Rome like this, you can say definitely he was the worst one. But is it actually true? And this is the question, because he blames the Jews. I mean, the Christians. He blames the Christians. So, okay, if we want to look at it like that, for him, Christians are Jews. It's a sect of the Jews. So he kind of blames the Jews here, but for us, he blames the Christians, to be precise. And this is actually, obviously, if you would make this fire, you know people who will hate you for that, because many lost their properties, obviously, and their houses and their complete life. So would you be long emperor if you say openly, yeah, I destroyed the city of Rome, or at least most of it? No, obviously not. So he has to blame someone, and he does that. He puts the blame on the Christians. But the question here is, can you prove that Nero was actually behind that fire? I mean, most historians think so, and I understand why, because who would profit else from that? But this is like the huge question here. Did he lay the fire? Was it his orders? If yes, worst emperor. If no, if he really was innocent and did not do that, can we still say he was the worst emperor? I look here at Caligula, who was quite crazy, maybe even worse than him. This is really the thing. With the fire, obviously Nero. But without the fire, it's not that clear anymore. We have Commodus, we have Caligula, we have many actually quite bad emperors. If we look at it from the perspective of people today, but also period people, they can obviously see who was now like a bad emperor and who was a good emperor. When just a couple of political enemies dies, no one says, oh, that's a bad emperor. It really is of the long term how he treats the people. And at the start, he treated them well. Just in the later years, not anymore. And, well, when we want to come back to the fire, who built his golden palace on the destroyed buildings of Rome? Nero. So there's this thing. I absolutely understand if you say, yeah, he was the worst one. And it's also quite a sign if you build on the destroyed Roman city, basically, and golden palace. Mentally ill? Properly. And so that isn't like he's mentally ill, so he's not bad at all, but it's still like we have reasons why he was like that. Probably he was mentally ill. And yeah, so in the end of this video, I can't tell you that he was not the worst one. I can just tell you that he was at the start not that bad, but later become quite bad, and that there are also others that did pretty damn bad stuff to the Roman people. Yes, and especially, like, if you have a bad emperor, normally it is especially a problem for the rich people and those who can also get political power, because there are many people get killed, assassinated, poisoned, everything from the emperor, because he doesn't want his enemies to rise to power and kill him, obviously. So we have that. So often if you have a bad emperor, it is mostly a bad emperor actually for the rich people. For the poor people, of course, they suffer through, like, yeah, we have to pay for this building no one wants, we have to pay for this feast no one wants, etc. So this is what I mean. There's like, you can't just say, yeah, he is the worst ever. And yeah, there are many forms of bad emperors. But so yeah, that's the end of the video. If you say Nero, worst emperor ever, alright. If you say, maybe if he didn't light a fire, which we will never know properly, it looks like he did. Let's just put it that way, it looks like he did, but 100% sure we can't be. As so often in history, we can't be 100% sure. I mean, where can we be 100% sure, right? So yeah, wish you a great day. I hope you could learn something, and bye for now.